just stopped raining recently, and it seems like the sun's trying to come out anyways. And what's going on today? I guess it was kind of interesting to read this one first, with people terrified of drones with weapons. Okay, how about this? This is a legitimate, I would say, drone weapon. Here it says, drone-mounted M72 shows promising results. Nammo has for several years been working on a concept where the M72 is mounted on a drone. The result is a flexible and powerful anti-vehicle or anti-tank weapon that can be operated remotely. Literally, like a cannon or a gun or whatever you want to call it, to take out a tank. You can even see in things like they show in their videos, that's pretty much what it is. A huge drone that presses, I guess, like a trigger and it fires this weapon. It says the M72 is qualified and is in use by a wide range of armed forces in several, mostly NATO countries, and offers a good combination of low weight and heavy firepower. In a regular usage scenario, it is fired from the shoulder of the operator. It makes me think though, it's the same point that I often say, it's a tool and it should come down to what you're using and how. There's a huge difference between stuff like this versus someone flying it for fun to capture, I don't know, photos and videos, or if they just want to use it as a racing drone, for example. And apparently with the platform Twitter, it says their CEO is stepping down. It says here, Jack Dorsey steps down as Twitter CEO. Board unanimously appoints CTO Parag Agrawal as successor. Dorsey will remain a member of the board until his term expires at the 2022 meeting of the stockholders. It's kind of interesting. Wonder why the change all of a sudden. I know there's been a lot of controversy and stuff with Twitter or platforms in general, just in terms of things like censorship and all that. Could that be a reason to make the change? And with that topic of censorship and stuff in platforms, and with that news yesterday where some places like Australia, they might implement rules where if someone is, quote, bullying or harassing someone, as they say, then they can file a complaint, and then people would have to, I guess, reveal their identities and all that. So as a lot of you know, earlier this year, I actually had to take on that T-Series company, like one of the biggest music companies in like the world, giving me a false copyright takedown because in terms of the music and stuff, they claimed it was theirs and it wasn't, and they basically went all the way in terms of YouTube anyway, saying, nope, take it down, we own it. I decided to fight back, and as you guys know, fortunately I won because I was 100% in the right. They didn't own anything. If anything, I actually don't know what the result of the case is. It seemed like one of their musicians actually stole or completely copied the music from someone else. But recently, do you guys remember about the Mavic 3 and the leaks, for example? People releasing their videos early. I showed screenshots and I talked about it. There's nothing wrong with that legally. But that person actually decided to take down my video with a copyright strike. And to me, it's like, huh? Why? There's nothing wrong with it with the way I did it. Basically, I was talking about the matter. I used references, like their screenshots. That should be fine. But unfortunately, I guess for whatever reason, that person just said, nope, I don't like it and I'm taking it down. And unfortunately, with a platform like YouTube, they have to say, okay, we better do this because they don't want to be held liable, for example. So in these situations, you could, I would imagine for most people, they'll just go, oh, forget it. You're not going to try to fight, for example, let's just say companies or someone that's bigger than you because they could just bully you in various ways financially. It's just easier just to suck it up and say, okay, goodbye, let them censor you and so forth. But in this case, I decided to fight back again. So I submitted the counterclaim, and this kind of shows why it's broken in that way when you don't actually get both parties, or in this case, let's just say the person making the claim, to actually give the person detailed responses of what are they, say here, claiming in terms of copyright, and why it should be taken down specifically. You can't just say, in my opinion, oh, I'm taking it down because of copyright, that's it. Okay, do you know there's so many reasons why it could legitimately be used, for example? As an example, I guess the most famous one in YouTube anyways, there was someone like H3H3, there's a channel, and he created a reaction video and he mocked the person, and I guess the person didn't like it, so eventually he claimed copyright and they actually decided to go to court, and I guess fortunately the people making the reaction video, in that sense, it was determined in court it's perfectly fair use in the US, so they won. And so I submitted the counterclaim, and I submitted basically what the laws are, like here in Canada, in terms of things what's called fair dealing. You can read more into it, but just in general, here, if you're talking about things like news or you are actually criticizing someone, then it's fair to use the material as reference, as long as you're doing it in a way that's helping you to tell whatever it is you are like reporting per se. You're not using an extreme amount of the content. So an example like with those reaction videos, it's one thing kind of like, let's just say a movie critic to show a clip or something like that, or a screenshot, and then talk about why they hate or dislike it. It'll be another thing, like it's hard to argue this, like it wouldn't really be valid, where you show literally the whole video from beginning to end, like the movie, and then afterwards you criticize it. I mean, you can't argue really that's fair use or fair dealing, so to speak. Whereas in this case, it was me using screenshots, talking about it. You knew exactly who it came from and the source, yet the person still decided, oh, I'm gonna take it down. Yet with my example, that's kind of clear cut. I was basically using it as reference to talk about the situation, but you can see how so many people can use it as a way to attack others per se, to take down things that fundamentally they do not like. Now, to be fair, there's a possibility that this person doesn't understand, I guess, the whole idea of, let's just say, I don't know, fair use or whatever in the US, or fair dealing here in Canada. And so he just went on the notion potentially of, hey, I see like even a screenshot or whatever, like in this video, it's my copyright, so I have the right to take it down. So there was no consideration. But then this thing, it didn't seem like the person contacted me at all. And ultimately, it was dropped. From what I gather, it wasn't because so much that the person did it manually, from what I've seen anyways. It was more because YouTube gave them a deadline where here's the person's response. If you disagree with it, start filing things like, you know, court papers and all that, and they didn't do it. So fortunately, in that case, everything was reinstated, but it just shows you how so many people could abuse stuff like this, where the small person or whatever could be doing nothing wrong. They're just talking about, say, their opinions or reporting on a subject matter, and then when someone doesn't like it, it's too easy, in my opinion, for them to say, oh, I'll take it down, without them actually providing the person with all the proof and explanation, and so to speak, on why it should be taken down legally. Alright, see you guys later.